Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Caught in the grind, no escape from me. Open your eyes, look up to the skies and see I'm just a poor boy, scraping by minimum wage. Born in the shadows of the city lights, concrete cradle under endless nights. Daddy worked 2 jobs, mama prayed for rain. Bills like chains rattling around my brain. But I read the books when the wolves were at the door. Charts and candles on the bedroom floor. Stocks in the morning, real estate at noon. Silver and gold under the harvest moon. Sweat on my collar, fire in my veins. Every dollar saved was breaking free from the pain. They said play it safe, boy, stay in line. Clock in, clock out till the end of time. But the system's a cage with a velvet disguise, promising heaven while it steals your life. Rise from the ashes, I built my throne. Rise. Turn pennies to empires of my own.
Did this time. We got stuff.
Stocks and stones, bricks of gold, silver rivers in the stories I told. I broke the wheel, I broke the...
Good afternoon, all you sexy stackers out there. Today, I wanted to kind of discuss why I am such a firm believer in the long term for constitutional silver. And I'm not just talking about 90% junk silver. I just want to talk about all sorts of kind of like sovereign coins, numismatics. Constitutional silver means just coins and currency that are minted by a government mint, right? And things like that. And I want to talk about that, why I think, you know, it's a little bit more interesting to me than, say, just generic silver. Even though generic silver has kind of the best spot premium, we'll get into that. But anyway, also, good morning, everybody. Also, we got Mustard and Biscuits, the Selfish Sacker, that ASC guy, Rodriguez. What's going on? And then Albert Cross, thank you for passing in the jewels, my friend. The jewels. It is a very happy turd emoji. All right. Appreciate you guys hopping in here. Spread the wealth. Let everybody know we're here. Also, before we get too deep into this, I did want to say that I do appreciate this community. I don't talk about it all the time because I don't make a ton of videos, but I definitely am all about doing the swag exchanges. I tried to send like a little note and a little gift as well, but I have poker chips, I have stickers. These people have already kind of done the exchange with me, and a couple more people I think are doing the exchange this week. But if you are interested in swapping some poker chips and stickers and things, just hit me up. Just hit me up, and I've got my email up there. I've got my address up there. There's all sorts of ways to get a hold of me. It's all pretty much out there in the description of the channel, or in the description of the videos. Happy to do that with you guys. Howard, what is this one? Oh, that's better. Gold coins is better than gold poop emojis. I appreciate it. That's better. Keep hyping it up, baby. Okay. All right. Back at it. Now, I've talked about this quite a bit, and I think it's worth repeating this sentiment over and over and over again as people are learning and building their wealth and deciding on what they're going to put their trust and faith and honestly their cash into for their future. Now, there's a million things you can put your money into. For this conversation, I'm focused mostly on constitutional silver, meaning silver that cannot be reproduced, that it's illegal, a felony to reproduce it, right? So 90% junk silver, constitutional silver, even US minted coins in today's era. Now, I'm going to weigh them all in terms of like what I think are going to be most long-term collectible and long-term value driven, but that's what we're doing. Okay. I will also cover briefly other tangible forms of collectible investment, because I feel like numismatics, graded coins, sort of tie in with other types of tangible collectible investments, and I wanted to kind of discuss those options for you guys as well. So that's really the basis of this. If you have comments, questions, concerns, disagreements, drop them in the live chat as we are going. That would be the best way for us all to kind of get this going. Oh, my camera is off. 1 second. Oh, I know what's going on. Never mind. We're fine. We're fine. Okay. First and foremost, one of the most important aspects of this is, yes, we all know that the melt price of these items are in a way correlated with the current, futures market spot price derived price, right? And there's nothing any of us can really do about that. If silver falls to $45 an ounce because there's a lot of short downward pressure from large institutions buying puts, or buying, lower contracts and selling and short selling, all that kind of stuff. If that's happening, that's not in our control as the retail public, right? And the generic silver will literally move in direct correlation to the spot price of silver, right? Typically it's 1 ounce or 5 ounce or 10 ounce or whatever it is. So if you buy something at $65 an ounce, right? If you buy an ounce of generic silver at $65 an ounce, and then you see the market fall to $45 an ounce and you go to sell it, you're probably going to get about $45 an ounce. It's pretty simple formula. Because why? Because there's nothing special about it. There's anybody can reproduce that at any time, right? There might be like whatever, some trademarks on designs and stuff from generic silver, but if JM Bullion wants to reprint the same exact round 100,000 times, they can do it, right? If Perth Mint wants to reprint the same, horses over and over and over again, they can do it. All that stuff gets melted down, recycled back into the same exact place. They will buy it back in a larger bar. They will cut it down and melt it down and, sheet it out and planchette it down, and they will turn it right back into the next whatever generic collectible thing. That is illegal with the stuff on this screen. No mint can go out there and reproduce these. Now, technically, yes, the US Mint could go back. I guess technically they could go back and they can make peace dollars. They can make Morgan dollars. But I don't know, maybe it's in the Constitution somewhere or the US Mint's bylaws, but I don't think they can go back and mint it with the dates that this was circulated. All right. Now, I've got it all kind of combined right here, but I do see them all as distinct different levels of long-term, collectability, long-term appreciation ability, right? And some are more closely defined to generic than others, even though they're still not generic, right? So take like, there's a Libertad, right? A Libertad, okay? Yeah, restrikes, exactly. So they can do restrikes, Albert Cross, like the 1945 peso, gold Mexican peso. So they can do restrikes, and that's a possibility, and that's what we're getting into, Albert. That's why some of this stuff is not going to be as highly classified as others, right? So what I'm looking at, this is a Libertad, right? What date is this? Who knows? 2015. Okay, this is a 2015. While this is a beautiful coin, right? Beautiful coin. It may have a lower or higher mintage, right, than other dates of this same coin. Obviously tarnishing and toning and things like that, and nicks and scratches and dings and dents harm its, collectible value. That's why people grade these. That's why people, put them into a lot of protective cases and store them long term. Even though these are typically, besides like the 2025, right? These are typically highly minted series. Highly minted series as in the millions of minted or tens of millions of mints, minted coins, right? Especially the American Silver Eagle. The US Mint is selling these, right? It sells these to the public. And the American Silver Eagle, right? Let's see if I got one that's not covered. This is a little easier to see. The American Silver Eagle, different dates and different years are more accessible, and some have different, strike qualities, and some have lower mintages for whatever reasons, right? So there's this idea that, these can be also collectible, and they can be. But these were entirely produced to be uncirculated coins. So there's very little special in this coin. I mean, even an MS70 isn't really that special of an American Silver Eagle. It's not that it's not collectible, and there's always going to be a collectible market out there, but it's just not going to have like the same long-term appreciation value, in my opinion, because there are going to be millions of them in the perfect grade of an MS70, because these were designed and produced as a collector coin for Americans, right? And they were never intended to be circulated. I've got a lot of comparisons that I could give to other forms of media, but I don't want to bore you guys. But like, these are cool. These are valuable, right? These are nice. I'm not arguing any of that stuff. They definitely value. The premium is derived by the price that the mint is charging, wholesalers this product. When things are bad, right, the premiums will pretty much dry up, and these will be worth their weight in silver, right? When things are really, really good, they might demand a premium. Or if for some weird reason there's one of these that has a significant lower mintage than other years, right, that can also drive up what we would consider, kind of in some of these industries, what would be called artificial scarcity. Artificial scarcity is when a manufacturer of something intentionally reduces the supply to make it seem like it's less abundant, or to force it to be less abundant than it really is, which drives up demand and a la vis-a-vis price. It's a nice, yeah, exactly. What's up, TFT? So that's my argument about these. Now, yes, are they US minted product? Yes. Are they a sovereign coin? Yes. Are they a coin? Yes. Will they be restruck? Probably not. Are they limited quantities? Yes. And you think like, oh, well, you're saying yes to all these things that kind of derive this long-term numismatic collectible demand. Why do you not consider these as highly collectible as something like a Morgan? Well, let's get into that, right? And by the way, American Silver Eagles are being melted down by the tons as well. So all those numbers that you see for like how many were minted, for a fact, tons of these are being melted down every single year. Especially the ones that have, again, toning, tarnish, nicks, scratches, dings, dents. Anything that's not beautiful, perfect MS70 shiny is going to get melted down. Tons of them are graded as well. All right. Let's see. Selfish Stacker says Morgans could have it happen to it. What happened to Pokemon First Edition, where yes, some of the old ones are rare and very valuable, but newer currency minted ones that are currently being produced are hot. Okay, Selfish Stacker, I'm trying not to get too far into it, but you might notice here that I have, a Magic the Gathering collector booster box. In fact, I have quite a bit of sealed trading card product. It's one of the businesses that I run for a hobby, and I do collect and invest in this stuff as well. And we're going to get into that in a way. In a way, I want to get into that, Selfish Stacker, because you are sort of thinking in the terms that I'm talking about, is where when something is limited produced and it doesn't get reproduced and it's done and it's like out of market, well, it gets to the point where it's like, you've got what you've got. That's it, you know? And yes, we will definitely kind of tie that knot in just a little bit. Not yet, but in a little bit. All right. Pang's melting. Nice, dude. Nice. Okay. Yeah. Pang's not the one melting. But yes, American Silver Eagles, Libertads. Probably not Libertads right now because Libertads are kind of like what you're talking about, right? Selfish stackers, like right now, Libertads are hot, man. These are the hot thing. People want this Mexican silver, Mexican gold, super hot, demanding really high premiums above spot, right? It is what it is. But maybe that'll shift in the future. Maybe it'll be ASEs. Maybe it'll be Canadian Maples. Who knows? So that's going there. So let's move over now from this newer sovereign stuff that, again, yes, it's constitutional, right? But it's not considered the 90% junk. So this is 100% pure, and this is 90% junk. So why then would I think that this stuff is going to have more potential to be long-term collectible premium investment over this stuff? Well, that's because, as you all know, these carry a lot of the same similar characteristics, except some major ones, right? These are the last coins, right, to have actually 90% silver in them. The mint after then basically took the silver out, right? All these clad coins that we have. Now, they're still collectible and they're still sought after and they're proof sets and yada, yada, yada. But talking about the silver, right? So you do still have the intrinsic value that comes from the weight of the coin, right? There's a certain weight of it. You weigh this coin and you take 90% of that, and that is how much silver, raw silver value is going to be in the coin. You also have the limited mintages. Every single year of these coins and every single mintage, right? Whether it's Philly or Denver or New Orleans or wherever it might have been, San Francisco, they also had a specific quantity of coins that they minted. So there is naturally going to be some scarcity built into it. All right. So again, we're checking off the same boxes that we checked off on this pure modern coinage, right? But these were, again, the biggest difference. What do you guys know what the biggest difference is? The biggest difference that separates these, in my opinion, from this one on the left being more highly long-term collectible and desirable and numismatic versus these is that somebody mentioned first edition Pokemon. I will tie in that in a second, but these were made to be used as currency and they were circulated. Therefore, the ability to get coins like that, right, in a higher grade, an uncirculated grade, is a million times more difficult and rare than these uncirculated collector piece coins. That alone is going to always keep a premium on here. When silver was running up from 50 to 100, people couldn't even reprice fast enough. You were getting, graded coins for like their raw value. And the reason for that is because the people that bought these coins and graded them when they were super cheap, they were okay with taking whatever profit they could get during the booming cycle, right? But when these things, I think, are going to really shine, it's going to be actually when the spot price of precious metals stabilizes and isn't fun and exciting every single day like it has been recently. And I think when that happens, and obviously time kind of makes things more and more and more and more rare and valuable as they just become less and less available in the world. If all of this stuff on this screen is still continuing to be melted down, right? It's all being melted down. Let's ignore restrikes for a moment, but if none of this is ever being minted again, it will never be produced again. It's all getting melted down every single year as coin shops, as coin shops cannot sell these to the public, or they sit too long and they need some cash flow or whatever the reason. These items are being sent to refiners by the hundreds of thousands and millions of each, constantly. There's been word that there have been pallets of constitutional being sent. I saw somebody say that they had cut out enough coins, enough graded slab coins of constitutional silver. They cut out so many that they filled an entire 5-gallon bucket of labels Not even talking about the plastic. I'm talking about just the labels. They filled a 5-gallon bucket of labels so that they could send the coins off to the refiner, right? So if you think about this, what's happening is the supply of every single thing on this table is getting to be less and less and less every year. And the number of Americans seems to be going up and up and up every year, right? You know, somebody said something in one of my last videos where they were like, and who knows how many people that were born, maybe people born in the, you know, the 40s, right? That are 80 years old, or maybe people born in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, right? Who actually owned this stuff, who have, maybe they have safes and vaults full of this stuff. As they pass away and their families inherit this stuff, you know that a lot of these families aren't going to take the time to understand what this stuff is. They're going to just sell it to somebody. They're going to get their whatever 25% back of spot, and the person who buys it is going to send it off to a refiner for 10 back of spot and make that spread, and they'll wash their hands of it and they'll never see it again. So this stuff is getting melted constantly for whatever reasons, always getting melted. It's not ever being reproduced, okay? And again, the stuff on the left, this was made to change hands. This was made to purchase goods and services, right? And to form businesses and to go into a bank and to come out of a bank, and, you know, cashiers and tellers using it as currency and clinking them all together, right? Bags of this stuff just being tossed around, right? And being delivered. So it's naturally going to have tons of wear and tear versus this stuff that's not. Now, I don't want to lose you guys, but somebody keeps bringing up kind of like trading cards, and it's absolutely the exact same as trading cards. And I can give you some examples, right? So back in the day, you know, in the early 90s or something, when people started playing, you know, again, this game, Magic the Gathering, when people started playing this game, Magic the Gathering, back in the 90s, it was 100% just a game. Some people saw some value in the more powerful cards and stuff, but it really wasn't seen as like this collectibles thing that you should put a lot of money into and you should hold on to and invest in, right? It was just literally a game that people played. Because of that, all the cards, all the old cards, were constantly being shuffled, played with, bent, scraped, rubbed on tabletops, rubbed on floors, rubbed on carpets, lost in, you know, put in big buckets and just kind of all stashed together in boxes. They didn't have all these protective sleeves and cases and all these things where nowadays everybody puts all of their cards, right? In the modern era, everybody that's playing these trading card games, they take everything and they put it in all these sleeves right out the gate so that no damage can happen to the card. The really nicer cards, they sleeve up and they send off to get graded and validated, just like these coins. They get them graded and they get them protected. And guess what? There are a lot more perfect grade cards in the modern era than there are of the old era. In the old era, to have something of a highly graded value or a variety is extremely rare and extremely valuable. I'm talking, guys, in the millions of dollars for one of these cards, or hundreds of thousands of dollars for one of these cards. I'm not talking about pennies anymore, right? We're talking about it, and it's the same kind of concept as these. Like, there's a reason why key dates of this constitutional 90% stuff, the reason key dates of a high quality are very, very expensive is because, right, it's super hard to find one that wasn't used for its intended purpose of spending and circulating. Just like trading cards, it's very hard to find a Magic the Gathering Black Lotus that's not in a played condition because they were literally built and intended to be played with. All right, so that's one of the biggest reasons why I believe in this stuff, right? All those different reasons I laid out. Okay, and here's another reason. Hey, good morning from New Zealand. Steading Stacking, thanks for being here. New Zealand, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, I saw, I think, Angry Buffalo Stacker popped in here. Albert Cross, obviously, is here dropping those coins and hypes. Thank you for the hypes. DC Stacks, what's going on? Did I say muskets? Did I say hi to you, brother? I thought I saw also Nikki Silver Stacker in here somewhere saying hello. Yeah, a lot of cool people. Appreciate all you guys stopping in and saying hi. We're just talking about sort of numismatics, collectibles, rare coinage and grading and all those kinds of things that kind of make this, again, a little bit more appealing to me than generic. Now, if my goal is simply to accrue metal weight, and I'm gonna, so like I've had this conversation with quite a few people. What's going on, Jamie or Imi? I've heard quite a few conversations with people that say, are precious metals even considered investing? And oftentimes the answer I hear, well, you can do the same conversation, the same exact conversation that I'm doing with this silver can be had with gold. 100% same exact, okay? I don't want to like pretend like it's not. I just don't have any gold out right now. All right, I don't get all my stuff out at once. I just get like whatever I'm doing for the video and then put all the rest away. So excuse me. All right, sorry about that. Same exact conversation can be had with gold as we're talking about with this silver stuff. Very hard to get it in a high grade because it's circulated. This stuff is not circulated. All right, if you're going to kind of really get a little bit deeper, here's the other thing, is we all know that there is a limited quantity of silver, gold, whatever, on the face of this earth. And it's not easy to pull this out of the ground, right? Especially not silver, because it's a derivative of sort of other things. What happens in financial institutions and financial markets is when they find an asset that has a limited like supply, that's also valuable,
Stay a while,
especially gold or silver. Wolf Metal Stacking, thanks for a subscription. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. When they find those things, they understand pretty quickly that that's the keys to wealth and power, especially the already rich and powerful people of the world. They understand that silver, gold, and other kind of set limited supply commodities, or you know, like think like oil, right? Oil, I mean, we're still producing more, but you get the point with like oil, right? But really precious metals, you know, rubies, whatever, it's all kind of like a limited quantity thing. And they understand that if enough people had enough gold, right, all of a sudden they now become the wealthy, powerful people. So these smart people figured something out. They figured out that if they created derivatives markets, they wouldn't need to own all of this stuff to control the wealth and power, right? That's why like stuff like the US dollar exists, right? Doesn't even have to be backed by gold and silver anymore. By doing something like that, by basically splitting the ownership of this types of stuff up and making it to where ownership isn't even important, they can sap the power from the holders of this stuff. And we've seen that happen with almost everything. So just take anything. Take cattle or wheat or tobacco or oranges or gold and silver. You could even do the same stuff as like Bitcoin. Was the same exact thing played out with Bitcoin. Do you guys remember? And I know oftentimes metals people don't like talks about crypto, but to be quite frank, I see way more similarities between Bitcoin and precious metals than I see differences. So if I'm looking at this and I go, okay, there's only whatever 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist ever. It will never be reproduced, right? It will, you know, some of it will get lost, which I guess is the same as destruction of constitutional, right? Some of this gets destroyed, therefore the supply, but Bitcoin, maybe some of it gets lost, right? Somebody puts it in a cold wallet and forgets about it or whatever. All right. So let's just say though, let's just stick there with 21 million. Well, the thing is that if that 21 million is divided up amongst 50 million people, well, now the rich and powerful people, when they want to get it, they have to actually buy it from somebody else, which is going to continue to drive up the price, and it makes everybody else that's still holding it even more rich and powerful. And that's what the problem is, right? Like, and it's not a problem for the people like you and me, the normals, the normies out there. It's a problem for the rich and powerful because they, in the governments, I also include governments in that list, right? It's governments, institutions, individuals, all those people that, you know, kind of control the levers of the world. They don't want individuals to have all of this stuff. They don't want you to have all the Bitcoin. They don't want you to have all the gold. They want you to have all the silver, because again, it gives you the opportunity to kind of class up and get out of the system a little bit. So here we are, right? We're in this situation. And what they do is they create those future contracts. Did you guys notice what happened to like the price of crypto whenever you get futures contracts, and now a different market, a market that's not tied to the physical asset itself, can now derive the price of that physical asset? Have you guys ever thought about that? Like, think about gold, think about silver. The price of this stuff is correlated to a market that has literally nothing, well, not literally, but it has 99% nothing to do with this item. Okay? The silver's future market has less than 1% metals involved with it. It's all just contracts. And because they do that, I probably sound like Lynette Zhang right now, but because they do that, they are essentially stripping the need for ownership of the physical asset to be able to control the price and to control the wealth. If it's suppressed down really low, the people holding it, they lose their power. And if the price runs up really, really high, the people holding it kind of gain power, right? Whether it's purchasing power or literally you have so much of it that you can now influence decision makers and things. Like, there's all that kind of stuff, right? So same thing happens with gold. Well, did you guys notice that with Bitcoin? Like, Bitcoin was just streaming up, running up, doing fantastic, and then all of a sudden we get a futures contract market of Bitcoin, and now crypto can be held in check as long as anybody wants. All you got to do is just have enough money to trade the contracts to keep the price to whatever price point you want, and you will start to see that it's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little different. And people were using things like crypto to, again, become financially free and to break out of these systems, right? And nobody likes that. They all don't like that. So it's funny is I bring up stuff like this. I bring up collectibles and stuff not because I'm trying to tell you should go out and buy trading cards or books or video games or records or whatever, but you have to start thinking a little bit like, if I'm talking about like you're putting your long-term future wealth into it, again, they can't produce more of the highly graded, uncirculated pre-1964 coinage. Okay, it's just not going to happen, right? So you get these really beautiful Morgans in an MS 68, 69, 70. They're going to be very, very valuable and expensive, but they're also ultra rare. And I would expect there's a reason why you see a massive premium on like a CC MS70 Morgan, right, or something, compared to anything else. It's because there's so few of them, and inflation and all that stuff will keep going up. So people are like, oh, these aren't investments because they don't derive a return on investment. Well, that's not entirely true. I disagree with that. I think gold and silver absolutely are investments. They just are investments that don't return an interest rate. Like, they don't return interest, they don't return dividends. That's perfectly fine. You know what, like venture capitalists do, and they put in like 10 million or something into a potential startup business, and guess what, when that business fails and they lose all their money, like, do you still not consider that an investment? Or if that business succeeds and then they cash out for 100 million, is that still not an investment? Even if they don't get an actual annual return or annual profit being divided up amongst them, it's still, I think most people consider it an investment. If I buy SpaceX stock and it doesn't give out a dividend and it goes up and down forever, is that not an investment? I would argue it's an investment, just like gold and silver. I've had this argument with many people that I absolutely do believe gold and silver are investments. And going a little bit deeper, right? Although we know that they can control the spot price of silver, we know that they can control the spot price of gold, what they really can't control, in my opinion, are, again, rare, special coins of a high quality, right? That could have that numismatic and that collector premium on top of everything else. You're not going to be able to probably just go to any old coin shop and get full value. You might have to take some more time, but that's one of the reasons why I've diversified into mostly, constitutional and graded coins. It's just like trading cards. One thing that can note about other forms of media is, even like real estate has the REITs and stuff, which kind of allow you to divide up ownership of one property amongst millions of stuff. But as long as it's 100% backed, like as long as 100% of the ownership ends up being like an actual physical property, it's not a big deal. It's when it doesn't even represent a real true property that becomes a problem. And that's what's happened to gold and silver, Bitcoin, and you know, oil and oranges and peaches and all that other crap, and goats and lambs. Like it's all been completely saturated with a paper market that doesn't represent one-to-one the actual commodity that's being traded. And that's a big problem. The biggest problem of the US dollar, right? So I've been buying collectible trading cards, valuing those and following those markets, and I'm actually I'm reaching out to some artists right now, purchasing original artworks and things like that. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's very clear that like some of these, like I'm trying to get a lot of my money now out of markets that are completely controlled by digital futures contracts. So I'm trying to get into markets that I believe have, you know, 40, 50, 60 years of history, that are stable, that are quantifiable, that I can track. They have, and what I mean by that is they have transparent open markets that I can see what transactions we're doing. I can see the general direction of where the valuations of things are going, and I can make educated decisions. And just like, you know, just like 90% coinage, right? This stuff will never be produced again. Well, at some point, even things like this get old enough, and this is $500, by the way. So like, this is more expensive than, you know, most things on this table. Only one thing on the table is even more expensive than this. But and so it's just like art, right? When you buy original artwork, like there absolutely are copies of it called, you know, prints, right? They can make prints of that artwork. The artist still owns the rights to the artwork, but when you buy the original, there's going to be no other original. It is literally a one-of-one product. Nobody else will ever own it. It's never going to ever be possible to be reproduced like correctly. Yes, some other artist could, in theory, paint it themselves, but it's not the original artist and the original painting. So like, I know it's not a perfect system, but you get my point. You would hope lower minted, good condition new and exact coins will appreciate throughout the years. That RM1042. Thanks for being here. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Is like, let's think like a decade from now. Okay, like let's just put our thinking caps on. In a decade, right? What do you think will have more interest to people to collect and own and potentially pay a premium for, right? A 2025 American Silver Eagle, right? Or a, you know, a Morgan dollar in, you know, MS69 condition. I don't have one, but you get my point, because this is basically an MS70, MS69 coin, right? Because this is, I mean, this is a perfect coin. This is an uncirculated coin. I appreciate all the hype there with all the jewels and stuff you guys are sending. Thank you so much. And all the new subscribers as well. Thank you for being here, guys. El Baba Yaga. Nice. I appreciate it. I worked in replication of 1800s redware. Nice. Okay. Nice. But it's still not the original, right? So, and I'm arguing is that if you're looking for something that might have the potential to disassociate itself with the spot or melt price of the metal, because we know for a fact that is being, we know for a fact the spot price is being controlled by those who have enough money to trade in the futures contracts. So a generic 1 ounce round has only so much maximum potential, and that maximum potential is basically the current spot price of the metal. Versus stuff like this, the maximum potential is almost unrealized. It's because it's going to depend on what the collectible market is in that moment, how much demand is on this product, what recent sales were, you know, how good the auctioneer is, right? Things like that are going to drive this, and it separates itself from the dependency on the spot price. Now, if silver goes down to $1 an ounce, sure, these are still going to go downward in value, but they're not going to go down to $1. Whereas a generic silver round, if silver dropped to $1 an ounce, guess what? A generic silver round goes down to $1. So in a way, this almost hedges you on some of the downside while also giving you the potential for a massive upside. Because every year, reminder, every single year, more and more and more and more of this circulated coinage gets destroyed, gets melted, gets lost, whatever. And there's only so many. If you look at the higher quality ones, right? You start looking at, you know, there's a lot of walkers where the highest quality that's ever been recorded, that's ever been graded, is like a 68, right? I'm not aware of any MS70 circulated walking Liberty half dollars. I'm not aware of them. Now, maybe there might be one or two proofs, but I don't even think there's proofs. So you start getting into a MS68, MS69 version of one of these, there's a reason why they cost $50,000 when the melt value of this is 20 bucks, right? So why would this coin? This coin, I think this coin has recent sales in this, not this exact coin, but these, like this is the VF25 1921S, okay? I think there's something like 240,000 of these ever produced in the world from the US Mint in this date from San Francisco. And yet nowadays there's probably less than 20,000 of these that exist in any condition, right? And then VF25, I believe there's only like 1,000 of this date and mint that are of a better quality than this coin that I have in my hand right here. There's a reason why that there are sales on this coin within the last 12 months between $1,200 and $1,600. So $1,200 and $1,600 for the coin, even though, you know, like the spot price of silver has gone from 120 down to 65, you'd be like, oh, well, then this should lose 50% of its value. But it's not the way it works in numismatic and collectibles, because just because the spot price of the metal within it went down does not mean that the rarity and scarcity of this freaking coin went down. You guys follow me? You guys get what I'm saying? You guys understand where I'm going with all this? What's going on, North Star Stacker? Thanks for being here. RM1042, gracias. I think it was you, TFT, still hanging out there. Silver State Stacker, my man. I still have not finished your book, but I appreciate you sending it to me, and I am going to give it a solid college try. And I might even, Silver State Stacker, I might even throw like $5 grand into your system and just see what the outcome is a year or two later. That sounds good to you. Oh yeah, it's El Baba Yaga. Thank you for sending that stuff in there. I'm just trying to take a second to get caught up. OG art like a Banksy. No, not like, well, Banksy is not OG at all. Or were you asking two different questions? I'm buying fantasy art. Fantasy art from fantasy artists that have done like video games, movies, things like that. That's what I'm buying. Yep. Just getting caught up. Make sure I didn't miss any questions, comments. Love my modded PS3. I have a handful of PS4 games, but I think PS3 is the pinnacle. Yeah, people do the same thing with video games because, hey, what's going on, Muscle Shell? Because video games are the same type of thing as like any other entertainment medium collectible. There's only so many produced, right? There's only so many that are gonna be, like have a a really nice condition box and manual and disc and all that blah blah blah, or have been never opened or unopened and perfectly sealed, right? Now it may not be a market for everybody, and the more niche you go with your market, the more you have to become an expert in it, and you have to build a network in it, because then if you ever want to sell, you have to kind of know people, right? But there's something, again, I'm not encouraging you, if you've never stacked any precious metals ever, to just go out there and buy super expensive key dates, even though, quite honestly, that might actually, dollar for dollar growth wise, it might actually be the best play, but it's probably not going to be the smartest way. I like to diversify a lot and kind of spread out my ideas, but I have generic, I have sovereigns, I have uncirculated coins, I have circulated coins, right? I have graded coins. I've got bars, rounds, whatever, and it kind of goes with all of it. But just remember, quick recap, right? Like, although American Silver Eagles, we look at these two things and we're like, okay, they're pretty much the same, right? They're pretty much the same. But there are just some massively distinct differences in these two things, right? The Morgan, this one sucks. Just too hard to see with that, like, a case on there, right? These all have different mintages, which makes them, more or less scarce than the other. These all are, government issued coins that have a currency value. This one's pure silver, so you're like, oh wow, it must be better than that. Well, I would distinctly argue no, it's not, because these were always created as collectibles that were never circulated. So these are all expected. These all really should be expected to be MS70. If they're not MS70, well, I mean, they're kind of subpar, to be quite frank. If it's not an MS70, it's a subpar, and they're probably going to get you melt whenever you go to sell it anyway, unless something weird happens in the future, right? Morgans, a really nice, high-quality Morgan. These were intended 100% to be circulated and used as coinage. Because of that, it's much, much more rare to have them in a better quality. Not to mention that back when they were minting these versus these, right? You know, a lot of these issues and dates and mintages are significantly lower because they know the demand. Like the US Mint knows how much demand and how many millions that they need to order that are going to sell every year, and so they just keep increasing or, you know, adjusting their demand based on, or but adjusting their quantity to mint based on the demand, right? It's not that big of a deal. There's not much special. We can, there's series collectors, right? And there's people that want the full series of ASEs, and I get it. But at the end of the day, it's just like, it's objectively less of a special coin than the other 90% coinage that was meant for circulation and use, because this stuff has, it just, there's just not nearly, if there's even any that are in perfect condition, there's just not nearly that many, simply because they were used. That's the biggest thing. All right, Banksy man, what a pain in the butt. Imagine waking up and he's done it. He's done a little girl with a balloon on your garage or something, and then you can like, you sell your garage door, something like that. I hear you on that. Damn, I gotta like throw this dry. All right, I didn't want to like, I didn't want to like bore you too much. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have picked up the Libertad. You're right. I just kind of grabbed whatever I could, but you're right on that. I shouldn't have used the Libertad for that example. You're right. Southeast stacking. What's up? Like I have some British coins and stuff, but these are like lower than, you know, this is 925 sterling and stuff like that. So I have some other coinage that, like, yeah, it is what it is. It's cool. That's like probably the gist of what I wanted to kind of say about, like, I'm gonna convert this live to a video later. That's why I kind of did it less interactive, but that's kind of where I'm at. What do you guys think? What's going on, Rural? You just got notified right at the end? What's going on? Why didn't, dude, I've heard so many people talk about having poor notifications for my channel, or no notifications at all. I don't know what's going on with the notifications. Sorry guys. I guess I don't do enough videos for like the place. I guess I don't do enough videos for like YouTube to care to pump my channel to people. All right, Wolf Metal Stacking, what do you got? My wife asked why we see more Morgans than peace dollars as they are newer. Why do we see more Morgans than peace dollars? I what do you mean? Like, what do you mean by that, Wolf Metals? Are you talking about like when you go to shows? Like when you go to coin shows or something and you see like more people having out Morgans than having out peace dollars? Or do you mean like when you're like actually like doing banking and stuff? Like I would imagine your bank doesn't have a lot of dollars, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure what you're talking about over there. Yeah, big premiums on Libertads. Yeah, we just talked about that at Argent. Like, you know, and then that cycle might change too. Everything's in cycles, right? You know, Libertads are hot commodity right now, but you never know. It could be the ASE, you know, in 3 months from now. It could be Morgans 4 months from now. Like, we don't know. Cycles kind of change with people's interest, and sometimes when certain, you know, influential people have an interest on something, it can shift the market, right? When that one guy was buying billions of dollars of or whatever he bought, like he bought like so many monster boxes of ASEs. Well, guess what? Like a lot of people followed in his footsteps and purchased a lot of ASEs as well, right? Morgans are seen far more than peace dollars on shows, YouTube, etc. You know, I don't have an answer for you for that. I would just, I mean, maybe, okay, I'm biased. I'll be honest with you. I think the Morgan design has a lot more character than the peace dollar design. I'm a much bigger fan of the Morgan than the peace dollar. The Morgans are older, so for me, just like my interest level, I find the older coinage much more interesting than the newer coinage. I can't really speak for everybody. I mean, I don't have the exact, like, I don't have the full mint numbers of the total quantity issued between the both series to be able to like make the argument if one is literally more abundant or not than the other. My assumption would be that the peace dollar is more available than the Morgan dollar. Again, just simply based on age, right? But I don't know that for a fact, so I don't know. But you know, for me, I just think the Morgans are much more. I really like. I like the way they do the stars. I like the whole back is just amazing to me. I really like the back of the coin. Versus peace dollars. Again, peace dollars to me are kind of like, I don't know, they're all right. They're all right. I mean, but the Morgan's probably like my second favorite coin design. Or the flowing hair is pretty sweet too. No reeded edge, no radial features, and no micro engraving whatsoever. What is going on? Manchu detachment. Libertads are so overrated for such a no security feature coin. I mean, there's a little bit. There's a little bit of an edge there. I mean, they're nice. I'm not going to say Libertads are not nice. They are nice. They are nice, but this is, you know, again, these have a premium right now, but they also do a form of artificial scarcity with the Libertads, where they intentionally meant like less than demand to drive up the price. Like, so it's kind of a weird thing. Yeah. Peace over Morgan for Argent. There you go. Peace dollars do have a lower mintage and years run. Okay, so they do have a lower mintage. Thanks, Jimmy. I wasn't quite sure how that worked out, so I do appreciate it. Just because Morgan is the size of a truck and Peace is a small flat fiat doesn't make that true. Oh, geez. Where's Dub? See, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Where's my man Dub? They educate us on all this stuff. I agree with everything you said. Thanks for all of your input. Hey, thanks, Wolf. I mean, again, you don't have to agree with everything. I don't talk to try to get everybody to agree with me. I just like to present. I guess I like to hear myself talk. I don't know, but I like to present my thoughts and ideas to kind of just like gauge myself against like everybody else out there, because there's a lot of things that I say that people just flat out disagree with me about, and that's fine, and we have those conversations. There's people that agree with me, sometimes people tell me I'm a complete Looney Tune, you know, and it's fine. Anybody got a mule of a Libertad? What is the mule of a Libertad? Stackers don't need security features. Stackers don't need it. Stackers just need bars. It doesn't matter if it's poured from somebody's coffee cup, as long as it's got metal in it, we're good, right? Peace dollar is sexy. The Morgan, you can tell she was hot when she was younger. Oh my gosh. What if it's the same woman? What if it's like the same woman, but like one is like, you know, pre-children and you know 20 years prior. What's the difference? What's the difference? Gosh. What was it that Fish always cracked me up, because he said the Morgan dollar looks like trouble. Like, just looks like you can just look and just tell you're gonna have trouble dealing with her. He called him like not the peace dollar, but like I don't remember what he said. He's like the reckless dollar or something like that. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, that's my argument. That's my argument for why I've kind of shifted into purchasing 90% constitutional and stacking particularly more difficult to find key dates type numismatics, is because the disassociation with the melt price, I think, is a good thing, where you can put on that collectible numismatic premium. And it's just the fact of the matter is like when there's less than 1,000 of this coin in this condition or better, right? Like, that makes a really big difference 10, 20 years from now, when there's going to be even less potential for more and more of these to be found that are going to be better. You know, it's just getting melted out. It's a limited quantity supply item that is constantly being destroyed, constantly being, you know, I don't know, it's just being melted and destroyed and lost over time. And I think as long as the USA is striving and strong and things like that, and there's some, you know, we're a sovereign nation, I think that these coins will still have a place in history that people want to collect and value. That's just my thoughts. We got Reckless here too. Nice. Oh, that's the name change. The name change got me. You got me. Libertad looks like the same engraver got smitten by the hood ornament of a car. Oh, you're cracking me up, Manchu. I think it does. Okay, now that oh, that's funny. Oh, that is funny. It definitely looks like it could have like been like ripped off of a nice car. It's like a Rolls Royce hood ornament that got jacked in the middle of the night. Somebody brought their wire cutters, pulled it out and cut it off. Oh, that is so funny. That is so funny. The real lady who sat for Morgan was a school teacher. Oh, there you go. I don't know why I'm reckless with my spelling of reckless, always adding a W. Exactly. It's always gonna have a limited dimensions that goes further and further down. Exactly, Jamie. Like, and technically, the American Silver Eagle does as well. But the big difference, Jamie, is that the American Silver Eagle is a totally uncirculated coin. So they're always in good condition, or they should be always in good condition, whereas the others were always circulated and are not in good condition. That's the big difference. It's like the new Privy, prices dropping daily, but once all are found, demand will push it back up. Yeah, I mean, that's the idea. That's the idea, right? And there's a lot of things like that. I've put in a few different examples, but you know, not all of my examples are necessarily the things that people care about. But like trading cards truly are like these things are weird because they truly are a limited quantity tangible asset that has a massive market, millions of people that buy and sell and trade them, but they're also designed to be destroyed, right? The sealed box is designed to be ripped open for the items inside. So the number that are sealed that exist in the world year over year over year continues to depreciate. And as people continue to purchase the supply up, the price just naturally goes up. And I've seen thousands of charts over decades that all indicate the same thing for a lot of these different tangible collectibles that are of limited supply, that have natural rates of attrition. And because of that, it works out. Nah, he just didn't know how to spell. That's all. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Thanks for hopping in here. All right, SGTRP, everybody. Thanks again for all the different hypes and jewels and bits or, you know, super chats, new subscribers as well. Appreciate all of you guys. Just remember, check the notifications if you're somebody that likes notifications. I have been told, I sound like everybody else, but I have been told multiple times in the last few days that they are not getting my notifications anymore. So I don't know, maybe I made somebody mad, but exactly, Wolf Metal, just like your Alpha Beta Magic, it's a yes. And I'm a trading card guy as well, as gold and silver guy, and I see so many similarities between like vintage trading cards and graded, you know, and quality 90% constitutional coins that I think it's hard to explain to people. It's hard to explain to people that aren't into the market for both of those things, but there's a ton of correlations. And yeah, they're both depreciating assets. Like, they're not depreciating, sorry, their supply is depreciating, right? Both of them have a very limited supply that's continuing to be destroyed year over year over year, while the collectible, you know, value of them continue to increase. So anyway, you hit the bell. I appreciate it. Thanks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've got the World Cup to go get ready for coming up in 15 minutes, as well as I'm going to be hitting, I've got a golf simulator at my house. So I've got a friend coming over and we're going to be doing some golf simulator this evening. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Rest up, get ready for the work day starting up tomorrow. I appreciate all of you guys. Have a kick-ass, wonderful rest of your day. And I will see you guys next time we go live. If you see a video dropped with like a very similar title, I basically am going to cut out a segment of this live stream and turn it into a video for the main part of the channel. But anyway, thank you so much. Have a fantastic, wonderful day. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.